I'm Ben Best, and I'm speaking today about quantified self for health, longevity, and survival. The quantified self movement is a collection of people, computer geeks, who are trying to collect and distribute data about themselves and use the data for self-improvement. And this is an outgrowth of all the advanced sensors and computers that have come into the marketplace in recent years. There's a quantified self meetup in San Francisco, London, New York City. Southwest Florida, in Naples, there's a quantified self meetup that has over 70 members. But there's been nothing in Southeast Florida. Nothing in Miami, nothing in Palm Beach, nothing in Fort Lauderdale. So I've arranged for this to be the first meeting. Who wants to use data about themselves? Actually, it's the most healthy people who are wanting to monitor themselves and the most unhealthy people. The unhealthy people use bathroom scales and glucose monitors and that sort of thing. And then there's just computer geeks who just like gathering all sorts of data. And life extensionists and health nuts will like gathering data about themselves to monitor their health. And eventually everyone will be getting more and more data about themselves, just like the internet has developed. Weight Watchers, I would say, is a forerunner of the quantified self movement. It's a group of people who would set goals for their weight and diet, and they'd share their goals with each other at meetings. And when they met their goals, they'd receive praise, and they'd be motivated to meet their goals to avoid losing face with the others in the group. And actually there can be some competition in the group, so that would be part of the motivation. Fitbit is a device that's worn on the wrist. It measures steps and sleep. It's one of the first examples of quantified self. Here's an example of my own Fitbit. It shows my sleep data and the number of steps that I took on January 8th. And I set a step goal of 10,000 steps and a sleep goal of 7 hours of sleep a night. So this shows me the percentage of sleep and steps that I succeeded in achieving on those days. And as far as sleep is concerned, of the 7 hours this particular night, I slept 5 hours and 11 minutes. Part of the competition of quantified self is called gamification in the quantified self movement. An example of gamification would be this somewhat addictive computer game, Candy Crush. And you try to achieve different levels and get different scores, and then it encourages you to share your data with your Facebook friends. So instead of meeting in person, people are meeting through Facebook and competing or sharing their achievements in Facebook. Another quantified self thing to do is quantifying your cognition. Lumosity.com is an internet facility that is used for training people, training their brains. And then as your score improves, supposedly your intelligence is improving. So that's the selling point. And this shows my own quantified self, various features, attention, memory, speed, these different qualities. And I get fairly high ratings on these. But if I compare myself with somebody in the early 20s, my ratings are quite a bit lower, especially on speed. 20-year-olds are much faster than I am. When I was very much into calorie restriction with adequate nutrition, CRAN, in 1996, I had a scale in which I measured every bit of food that I consumed. And I was using Pennington's food values guide to determine the amount of calories, protein, sugar, fat, and fiber in every piece of food that I ate. So this is for the whole month of November 1996, showing all the data for the whole month and the totals for the month and the average daily values. I also participated in the Kronos longitudinal aging study. The billionaire John Sperling established the Kronos Group Clinic in Scottsdale, Arizona in 1998. And the Kronos Science Laboratories president was Chris Heward. And he was the one who established the Kronos longitudinal aging study. And he was a life extensionist biogerontologist. Not all biogerontologists are life extensionists. And the goals of class was to find physiological biomarkers of aging, to measure the rate of aging, and to test potential anti-aging interventions with the data collected. So a class participant could pay $6,000 for testing or pay $1,800 with a 6-year commitment to 3 tests. So I chose to do the second, and I got my first test in 2006. And 0.8 years later, I got my second test. But then Chris Heward died in 2009, and he died of esophageal cancer. And the book by some life extension biogerontologists, Future of Aging, was dedicated to Chris Heward. And there's the dedication page in his memory. But that was the end of the class study. Anyway, I'll tell you about the class study. There's massive quantification, lots of tests, visual reaction time, highest audible pitch, memory of for length of sequence of numbers, resting energy expenditure, grip strength, flexibility, bone density, head, arms, pelvis, percentage of fat and lean for legs, trunk, arms, other parts of the body, and lots of blood tests. 10 cardiovascular protection factors, 6 cardiovascular risk factors, 16 saturated fatty acids, 14 monosaturated fatty acids, 12 polyunsaturated fatty acids, 4 highly unsaturated fatty acids, 4 essential fatty acids, 4 trans fatty acids, and 22 oxidative stress protection factors, 11 oxidative stress damage factors, 20 hormones, 7 essential trace minerals, 11 toxic trace minerals, 20 complete blood count values, 9 liver function indicators, 16 kidney function indicators, among others. So what did I do with some of this information? Well, my TSH was high, which indicated that I had subclinical hypothyroidism. So I did a massive study of that subject and started taking a bit of iodine in the form of kelp. And I think that helped. And also my vitamin D was low, so I upped my vitamin D. And my potassium was low, so I started taking potassium capsules. And I took more coenzyme Q10 because even though the values were average, I wanted to be more than average. I had high serum arsenic levels, which made me contemplate chelation therapy, but I didn't actually pursue that. Something very serious, though, was my electrocardiogram, which indicated ST segment depression during my treadmill stress test. And I was told to see a cardiologist. When I did see the cardiologist said the ultrasound indicated that I had no problem. He did tell me to increase my exercising from every other day to daily. But as with the subclinical hypothyroidism, I undertook a massive study of ECG and ST segment depression to try to understand them better. So ST segment depression indicates ischemia. It's the distance between, and this is an ECG. It has these different waves, P, Q, R, S, and T. And the distance between the S, the bottom of the QRS complex, and the T wave is called the ST segment. And when that's depressed, it indicates ischemia, low blood flow in the heart. This is a whole electrocardiogram. The point about the ischemia is that you would expect that if you're pushing yourself to the limit on a treadmill and they keep telling you go and go, eventually your heart is going to become ischemic. So the only thing I can understand about my having ST segment depression is that anybody who pushes themselves hard enough is going to get ST segment depression. And I think other people were just quitting before I quit. I just pushed myself too hard. Okay, so the electrocardiogram, these PQRS-T waves occur over and over and over each time the heart beats. And measuring the peak between each of these waves is useful for another form of quantification, namely heart rate variability. And that indicates the distance, measures the distance between the tops of the ECG peaks. And what you get out of that is if there's a high level of variability between the peaks, the variable distance, then that indicates that your heart is very adaptive, that the brain has flexible adaptive control of the body. So a high HRV, heart rate variability, indicates low stress, and a low HRV indicates high stress. A low HRV is predictive of cardiovascular disease. Sweetbeat is the app that I use for measuring my heart rate variability, and shows you the typical values. As you get older, your heart rate variability tends to decline, indicating less cardiac health and less heart rate variability. This shows my heart rate variability. My resting heart rate is 55, and my resting heart rate variability is 90. I'm determining this with an iPad app having a Bluetooth connection to a chest strap and using the Sweetbeat facility. But after 7 minutes on the Stairmaster, my heart rate has gone up to 108, and my heart rate variability has gone down to 26, which indicates that I'm under stress, and also, of course, that my heart rate is beating pretty high. But then after 40 minutes, my heart rate is about the same, but my heart rate variability has gone up, indicating that I'm getting used to the stress of exercising, and I'm feeling less stressed, and my heart rate variability is increasing. So another thing that's measured is heart rate recovery. The heart rate recovery measures the drop in the heart rate in beats per minute during the first minute after completion of endurance exercise. And a heart rate recovery of less than 12 beats per minute is highly associated with the risk of cardiovascular disease. And someone who has 12 beats per minute heart rate recovery has about twice the risk of cardiovascular death as someone who has an HRR of 25 beats per minute. The heart rate recovery graph, relative risk of cardiovascular death as opposed to heart rate recovery, and you see as the heart rate recovery rate goes down, the relative risk of cardiovascular death goes up. So here's my heart rate recovery. It's showing me measuring my heart rate recovery on my iPad app. It has to complete a minute before it'll give me the value. Here it is after I've gone a minute, and my heart rate recovery is 27, so that's good. And I guess you can have higher scores than that, which would be even better. I also got an angio screen, which checks the coronary arteries are the vessels in your neck. If they're blocked quite a bit by atherosclerosis, then there's a high risk of stroke. The peak stroke velocity is a measure of the impedance in the coronary artery. So it should be less than 120 centimeters per second. And for my values, my left carotid was 68 and my right carotid was 75. But the imaging that they did on my carotid arteries showed no blockage whatsoever from atherosclerosis, which is encouraging. I also have a Withings blood pressure monitor, which I plug into my iPad, and I put it on my arm, and it measures my blood pressure. All I do is press start, and it starts measuring. This shows the progress of the measuring. The green line shows the progress. And then finally it gives me these values. So I get a systolic blood pressure of 126, diastolic of 74 millimeters of mercury, and my beats per minute is 50. So I also get a history, and it shows me the history of various readings by the dates, and then I can see a graph of my blood pressure, how it varied over a period of 3 months. So I think it's showing my health practices are on track. 23andMe is another means of quantifying yourself. In this case, it's measuring DNA. It's not like you're measuring your whole genome, but it's measuring single nucleotide polymorphisms, certain genes basically, and alleles or forms of genes. And the way this works is you send a sputum sample into the 23andMe people, and then they send you back lots of data about what they've learned about your DNA testing. Not surprisingly, it shows you your ancestry. And not surprisingly, my ancestry is mostly Northern European. And it also shows you how much Neanderthal DNA you have. So I have 3.1% Neanderthal DNA. The average European has 2.7%. I'm in the upper 95th percentile, I believe, of Neanderthal, so I'm very Neanderthal. Now, I have a friend on 23andMe, Ashwin DeWolf, one friend. It's like Facebook, you can have friends, and Ashwin is only in the 31st percent of Neanderthal, so he has a very low Neanderthal portion. 23andMe has been giving a lot of data, health risk data, and health benefit data, I guess. My risk of type 2 diabetes is very high, just from a genetic point of view. I think my actual risk is much lower. Under that is prostate cancer, and then it goes down in terms of what I'm at highest risk for. My lowest risks, coronary heart disease, is very low. Alzheimer's disease is very low. Your ApoE type indicates what your risk is for Alzheimer's disease. And ApoE2 is very, very low risk, and it's very rare also, so I'm quite lucky to have one ApoE. And ApoE3 is more common. ApoE4 is the very high risk allele for Alzheimer's disease. My typical risks are obesity, gout, atrial fibrillation. These are risks that are not much different than average for the average person. So 23andMe, unfortunately, is not giving this health data information anymore because in the fall of 2013, the Food and Drug Administration ruled that 23andMe cannot give health information. So after the 22nd of November 2013, 23andMe is only providing ancestry and raw genetic information, not health information. 23andMe is appealing this decision and trying to get the FDA to give them clearance to provide the health information they were providing before. Similar to 23andMe is the uBiome data, and this is actually measuring the bacteria in your gut. It's recently been discovered or realized that the bacteria you have in your gut affects your health risks in various ways. And so when I was at the Quantified Self Conference in October, I signed up to get my microbiome measured so I could find out what my bacteria were. But they still haven't gotten back to me with data, and I expect that the problem is that it's similar to 23andMe. They realize that they can't give out all this health information, and so they haven't given me any data yet. And I don't know, maybe they won't. Let me go to the subject of cryonics now. In order for cryonics to work, the links to future life that we're depending on are a timely pronouncement and response at legal death, a well-equipped and well-trained standby team, a well-equipped and well-trained perfusion team, and a well-equipped and well-trained storage team. So a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And historically, less than half of cryonicists who've actually arranged for a standby have actually received standby deanimation, although the situation has improved in recent years. Most of those who receive standby are cryonicists dying of cancer, because cancer is a slow dying process with a predictable result. People who have a sudden death don't have as much of a chance to assemble a standby team. And sudden cardiac death is actually fairly common. This data isn't new, but I don't think it's changed very much. For males aged between 20 to 64, 32% of all deaths are due to sudden cardiac death, and 25% of those showed no prior sign of heart disease. And for males between the age of 45 to 75, 60% of the sudden cardiac deaths had no prior evidence of heart disease. After menopause, heart disease becomes the #1 cause of death in women, and is comparable to the rate of death in men. So my concern has been cryonicists living alone. Many elderly cryonists live alone. When I was president of the Cryonics Institute, I was very concerned about our elderly members, especially those living alone. Our 45th patient was our Cryonics Institute member, Hugh Hart. He died on a Friday in his apartment, and he wasn't discovered until the next following Monday. There was an Alcor patient, FM 2030, who was dead for about a week in his apartment before he was discovered. And CI's 76th patient was a paraplegic who was found in his wheelchair on Christmas Day within 3 hours of the time he's last seen. And there have been many others, unfortunately. So having a heart attack, even a cryonics-friendly spouse could awaken to discover that their cryonics spouse is dead in their bed. So even living with someone is not a relief from the danger of having long ischemic times. One CI activist was discovered by his spouse lying on the floor of a room in their house, probably dead for hours after he was last observed. And another CI patient was found dead in bed in the morning and was preserved by a relative. So to deal with this situation, there are medic alert systems which could help. Some elderly cryonicists have lain on the floor who could have been saved by having one of these panic button systems. They just push the button and call for help. And a panic button system could alert cryonicists and cryonics organizations as well as 911. Even if the person's dead, 911, if they can't declare death, they are forced to give chest compressions and ventilations while driving to the hospital, waiting for a physician to pronounce. And this is exactly what we want for a cryonicist, to keep the blood circulating. And then the declaration of death can be obtained at the hospital, but cryonicists could be also rushing to the hospital and begin cooling as soon as pronouncement had begun. So the various medical alert system reviews, this medical alert advice rating service says that LifeStation is best. This medical alert system review rates 10 different medical alert systems and says that Medical Guardian is the best. Well, I came to a different conclusion from these other services. I think, especially for cryonics point of view, that Mobile Help has all the best features. They have a 24/7 call center, like all the medical alert systems, but they also have a GPS and a fall detector. Another provider is Electronic Caregiver. They also have a panic button system, but they have in addition, they have an activity sensor. So the activity sensor that I have will be set so that I pass by a location between 5 and 10 in the morning at least once, and also between 5 in the evening and 10 in the evening at least once. And if that doesn't happen, if I don't at least once pass by the activity sensor, the electronic caregiver system will be alerted. Now, if I know I'm not going to be at home at those times, if I'm traveling, I simply deactivate the system and push a button that says that I'm not home. It would be valuable to monitor vital signs in a way that does not require victim alertness, the way these panic button systems require somebody to push a button. A medical alert system doesn't help if you die in your sleep or experience sudden cardiac death because you can't push a panic button. Now, there are bed alarms that will alarm after several minutes after no movement, but often people get out of bed in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, forget about the alarm, or there may be a pet and a companion in the bed that'll trigger it. And the systems have been very, very, very vulnerable to false alarms. There are other ways of detecting vital signs better than bed alarms. Respiration and heartbeat are two widely used measures. I think heartbeat is probably the best vital sign that we could measure. And an ideal measuring system would be measuring heartbeat. It would be comfortable, convenient to use. You could wear it while bathing even. It would send messages by phone numbers and email, preferably to a call center. The GPS is identified, your location in other words, and transmitted with the message. The device would have low power consumption, so they wouldn't have to be charging it every few hours. And it would be convenient to recharge. And it would be wirelessly operational anywhere. And false alarms would be minimal, easily handled. So here's one system, one vital signs system, which is obviously too cumbersome and inconvenient. It is portable, and it monitors a lot of vital signs, but it requires a prescription as well as being uncomfortable and inconvenient. I've been waiting for a system for Cryonics' vital signs system for 15 years. And for 15 years I've been hearing that the technology is trivial and there'll soon be a consumer product available, and the Cryonics won't need to create the product themselves. So I've been hearing this for 15 years and nothing has happened. I had become quite cynical. until 2012 and 2013 when several products came on the market. And these have been augmented by a Canadian cryonicist named Dennis Matthew, who started the Cryonics Vital Signs Alert Yahoo group, and he created his own Vital Signs app for Android smartphones. Now, just to go back a little bit about the heart rate monitoring devices and other monitoring devices that come on the market, there's this Tinka. You place your thumb on this detector that you plug into your computer. It tells you your heart rate, your respiration rate, and your blood oxygen. But this is only when you put your finger on the button. It's not a continuous process. So this shows one of my measurements showing my oxygen saturation, beats per minute. My breaths per minute is 11, and I have 100% oxygen saturation. The PC 60 fingertip pulse oximeter gives similar values. It gives heart rate and blood oxygen. You just stick your finger into this device and it provides these values. Theoretically, you could wear this, but that would also be inconvenient. Nonin is the biggest name in pulse oximeters, and they also have a fingertip pulse oximeter, which gives heart rate and blood oxygen. But then again, you're not getting continuous monitoring. You're only doing it when you put your finger in. HeartMath measures heart rate and heart rate variability from a clip on your earlobe, which is a little bit more convenient, but you don't want to be wearing this all the time either. And also, it's only giving the data. It's not sending an alarm or anything. It's just telling you what your heart rate is. And also, this Performac Iriveron senses the heart rate from earphones, so you can listen to recordings while it's measuring your heart rate and while you're exercising. There's a lot of chest strap devices. The one I use is Polar H7 heart rate sensor, and there's a Bluetooth connection from the chest strap which connects to my application. There's another LifeMove heart rate monitor, but you have to touch the watch for there to be a 2-point connection. It does have a battery life of 1 year, which is a good feature. But then again, you're just getting your heart rate. This Cryos communicates with a cell phone and takes phone calls. The cell phone communicates with the chest strap. So that's a helpful communication device, but it's not giving it alarms. So anyway, it's still moving in the right direction. And Wahoo Fitness is also another example of a device having a heart rate monitor and chest strap and application taking the data. And then MyPulse is another heart rate monitor for the chest strap. MyPulse has alarms. Runtastic gives heart rate and GPS from a chest strap. So we've got these different systems that have different features. A lot of people don't like chest straps, so this headband from Spree gives you your heart rate just wearing this headband. So that's being advertised as freedom from chest straps. The big breakthrough in 2012 was a wristwatch type device that gave heart rate. And it was created for athletes. They've got a website, alphaheartrate.com. By January 14, there were 4 wristwatch type heart rate monitors that were available. The Exmovir Empath sensor phone, the Mio Alpha heart rate monitor, the Basis Health Tracker, and the Dream Sport DG. The Empath from Exmovir has a whole bunch of features, probably too much. It's got a telephone, GPS, it gives you your temperature, all sorts of things. FM radio, calculator. You can use it to look up your addresses of your friends, and it's got a pedometer. Having all these features, it only has an 8-hour battery life. So it has to be on a charger a lot of the time. And it only tells you your heart rate when you tell it to give you your heart rate. If somebody calls you on the phone, on your wristwatch phone, the heart rate monitoring stops completely. So anyway, it's not desirable. The Mio Alpha heart rate monitor, I think, is a lot better. It's also strapless, but it's dedicated to only measuring heart rate, or it has 2 modes, a heart rate mode and a time mode. So that puts less burden on it. There's no online app for Mio Alpha, though, until April of 2014. But Wahoo and other apps can be reportedly used. If you use it with a smartphone, your smartphone will have GPS. It uses Bluetooth 4 communication, which means it's low power consumption. So it has about a 30 to 35 hour battery life. And when the battery gets too low, it stops monitoring heart rate and reverts to the watch function. So you need to take the Mio Alpha off about an hour a day at least and charge it up again. The Base's Health Tracker has a few more features than the Mio Alpha. It has an 80-hour battery life because it's more efficient in the way it does its data gathering. Instead of continuous monitoring of the heart rate, skin temperature, and steps and so forth, it just samples about every 2 to 3 minutes, or actually it's probably closer to 5 minutes. And it does this in the background, so it's not being continuously displayed. Even though you can look at your heart rate by pressing on the watch, as soon as you take your hand off, it quickly reverts to just showing the time, because that has the least power consumption. And it can communicate with the Bluetooth smartphone and into the cloud for internet access. But it does not have GPS. This is an example showing my heart rate for the Monday before this lecture. You can see my heart rate going up at the time I was exercising toward the end of the day. And also showed me my sleep patterns. I'm a terrible sleeper. On Tuesday, Tuesday night, the following the Monday, I got 5 hours and 14 minutes of sleep, and it's showing what was light sleep and deep sleep and REM sleep. This shows many of the things being tracked on Monday, my heart rate as well as the steps I took, the skin temperature, perspiration, and so forth. One more watch-like device on the market, the Dream Sport DGBT Top, which is new from China, but when I went to their website, there wasn't any ordering information, and maybe they aren't even selling it outside of China. So Dennis Matthew has written an app for the Mio Alpha because unlike the Basis and the other devices, the Mio Alpha can be used on a smartphone having an Android operating system. And Android is open source, which means that anybody can do programming in it. So anyway, Dennis has made his code open source so other people could take the code and monitor it. What his app does is it detects a slowing or stopping of heart rate. If the heart rate stops or goes too slow, it will cyclically dial phone numbers in sequence and leave an SMS message. He can dial 3 numbers in sequence. You can program it to put in 3 different phone numbers, send SMS messages to each of those phone numbers. So this is showing the start and stop menu, which includes the settings option. And you can set the upper and lower heart rate to trigger an alarm. I've set the lower heart rate to be about 30 beats per minute because my beats per minute can actually get down into the 40s. I wouldn't want to have it going off when I'm still healthy. You can also set the number of warning beats before dialing. If your heart rate is getting to be too low, you don't want it immediately to alarm. You might have taken the watch off or something else. You want to be able to disable the alarm before it starts sending out warning messages to others. So this is the message that's displayed after hitting start, and this is the message that's displayed after hitting stop. So I think the best coverage for cryonics as of January 14 would be Mobile Help Medical Alert System. With that, you can get 24/7 call center availability, fall detection, emergency response, and GPS. Now with Mobile Help, as long as you're in the continental United States, you can be thousands of miles away. Unlike a lot of the other systems, you carry this intercom with you on your hip, and you have the fall detector, and you fall down on the street and you don't respond, the GPS will locate you. And if you're not responding, if they're calling you and you're not responding, they will send wherever you are EMS to do whatever they need to do. This mobile help device can be used in combination with the Mio Alpha heart rate monitor and Dennis Matthews' app for the Mio Alpha. And I think between the 3 of these, they should provide very good detection. So the last thing I'm going to mention is John Bull, who is a longtime cryonicist who deanimated the Sunday before this lecture at age 84. He was the editor of the Immortalist or Long Life magazine for more than a decade, and he's been a cryonicist in the 1960s. He was one of the early activists anyway in the Cryonics Society of New York. He was a friend of Saul Kent and Curtis Henderson. And he was the very first Cryonics Institute member to sign up for suspended animation standby. And as it happened, there was a TerraSem team at the hospital when he deanimated, and they helped keep John's heart active. There was a rapid pronouncement. The TerraSem team went to work until the suspended animation team came and took over. So John got very good emergency response help. Thank you for your attention.